Do not ask me to stop crying. Don't expect an answer from me for being so low. I do not know. Do not put the weight of you feeling uncomfortable back on me by saying, "Did we do something wrong that you keep crying?" Welcome to the Birth Agni podcast, the fire that births us and transforms us. This is a space where women reclaim birth on their own terms, where deep ancient knowing meets primal courage. We talk birth, womanhood, breastfeeding, parenting, and the quiet power of choosing differently. Choosing of our own. Come as you are, leave more rooted. I'm Divya Kapoor, a childbirth educator, lactation counselor, trainee traditional midwife, and doula, disintegrating the politics of birth, one story at a time. Today we are going to talk about postnatal depression, the very controversial situation that is not recognized most of the times, especially by women themselves. And this is the most vulnerable a mother can ever be. Although I can speak at length about how vulnerable mothers are in general most of the times. But I will reserve that for some other day. Today, we are going to speak about my journey into motherhood. What were the probable causes for postpartum depression? Situations that healed me or worsened my problem, the symptoms and the remedy to start with. My daughter is 6 now, a breeze from the early postpartum phase. And when I talk about the memories of that time, I do see that the way it turned out was primarily because of the poor birth experience I had. The first 2 years of postnatal emotional roller coaster ride was because of my poor birth experience. And everything around me, how it affected me, was because of my poor birth experience. It had less to do with my daughter, more to do with me and the family dynamics. I come from India, and Indian families live with their parents and their parents. So practically we can have on an average 4 to 8 people living together. We believe in staying together. So when I gave birth, naturally I was surrounded by a lot of people, and hence there was a lot of care and help. But there was this one thing that was missing: peace. Both because I was going through a tough phase where I was stuck in my labor and birth experience, as well as there was very little recognition of postpartum depression. So here we are, discussing it. Today's episode is a retake of the very first episode on the podcast, Postnatal Depression, my experience. So what was my birth experience? I wanted my baby to be delivered normally. I exercised, I did yoga, I worked towards it as per my understanding. I read this book, What to Expect When You're Expecting, which was very famous, which has been very famous in fact, for a long time. But it's not a great book for birth preparation, I realized later. I knew that the system, the medical system, is such that if you get the pains, you have a chance to deliver the baby naturally. But somehow, at the last moment, I went through a surgery. So my labor started on its own, but I underwent a surgery. The circumstances around it were such that I could not understand what is going on, whether it's right for me or my baby. Post-birth, I used to replay the entire delivery episode, the birth episode rather, and think about it again and again. What could have been, what was, and the likes. I used to think, what could I have done that I would have delivered or birthed my baby normally. I had questions, a lot of them. I wanted to ask somebody, did I do something wrong that my baby was not birthed normally? Am I at fault? All those questions, they drained me completely. I was not allowed to use the washroom because I was pooping again and again. As soon as my insurance papers went in, my mother-in-law asked, "How much more time will it take?" The doctor said, 5 hours. She came back. As my husband must have submitted the insurance papers, she said, "Pain बढ़ा दो, increase the pains." I had no idea back then. I did not take birth preparation classes. I looked them up. There were none in my vicinity. So I let it pass in the highs of pregnancy, I'd asked my gynecologist as well, so naive, that if she knew somebody who offered birth classes, I wanted to make a birth plan. She said, "We do not do birth plans here." I did not see those red flags. I was naive, unprepared, and blissfully ecstatic in my pregnancy journey. They injected me with a drip. This was artificially increasing the pains. My body did not take it. It did not take the drip well. I had heart palpitations and I could not breathe. So they put me on an oxygen mask. They did stop the drip, but whatever dose it was, it did not feel right. I was stopped from using the washroom because I wanted to use the washroom again and again, for I may birth my baby there. I remember responding with frustration. I know what pooping feels like. It's not the baby, it's the poop. A part of me felt, if the baby will come, why not just pick the baby up from the washroom? I mean, what's wrong? That's your job, nurses. So stop, don't stop me from using the washroom. I really want to go to the washroom. And it's so barbaric, inhuman to not allow a woman use washroom just because she's in labor, because you don't trust her when she says it's poop and not her baby. Then the doctor came back again. The baby's heart rate is dropping, she said. It was 120s from 130s, I remember, because I could see the monitor. I felt later it was a lie. It dropped during the contractions and always came back up. I could see. So if you have taken childbirth classes, you would know what that means. It's a normal progression of labor. Or if it did really drop, induction was the culprit. So a surgery was decided upon. The anesthesiologist came an hour later, a whopping hour later. And I asked the nurses, "Is my baby all right? Will you not check the heartbeat again?" They said, "No, it's all right." I felt cheated right there. But the good girl in me, good girl, did not have the courage to question or do against them. I had already said yes to a surgery. Now after birth, all these things lingered long into postpartum. It took me 1 whole week to actually realize that I was depressed. 1 week into depression, and I did not know. Some women do not realize it for years too. So what were my symptoms? I was thinking so much about my birth experience that I slept for 5 hours collectively in 3 days. I could not sleep, and shivers went through my body in the night. I was crying a lot. I was vulnerable. I was very sensitive, weak. I used to cry at the drop of the pen. Everything and anything could make me cry in the nights. I used to feel so suffocated. I remember myself saying that I might not see the light of the day, not feeling the love for the baby. Let me say out loud, I did not feel the love for my baby. I knew I loved my baby in spirit, but in reality, I did not feel it, not initially. Now you might think, am I a bad mother? Did I feel guilty back then? Yes, guilty. I felt guilty. Not now. Not now. I now know I'm a wise human being, that feeling things the way they are, it's natural and it's best. It's the best thing to do. Although the world is not with you. That is another thing. I felt while I was depressed, I felt everybody was just creating noise. There was a lot of noise. Anyway, because it was winters and I was already stressed, so everything stressed me out. But at some point, I wanted to be left alone. This is how I felt. Do not ask me to stop crying. Don't expect an answer from me for being so low. I do not know. Do not put the weight of you feeling uncomfortable back on me by saying, did we do something wrong that you keep crying? There is a better way to feel what I was feeling. But nobody tried to look at me beyond themselves in this situation. My mother was here helping me with the baby, but I wanted her to leave. There was a lot of help, but I wanted her to leave. Why? Because she was primarily taking care of the baby, and the baby seemed easier to her. The baby seemed inclined towards her, and the already disturbed me felt things were being snatched away from me. I was not good enough. The simple statements from her excitement and love towards baby made me cringe. Quite honestly, it was bothering me at the same time as to why I was feeling like that. I was able to think, I was able to recognize that I was in a very different zone. I had never felt so contained by the circumstances, so possessive of the baby. The condition I was in was bad, very bad. For you to lay out the symptoms for the listeners of postpartum depression, and this is different from postpartum blues. Postpartum blues is the natural weariness and anxiety and crysomeness that you have post-birth that lasts for about the first 2 weeks or few weeks of adjustment and then goes away. Postnatal depression or anything above postnatal blues is something like this. Extremely possessive of the baby, beyond the normal idea of wanting to do things your way. Fearing something will happen to the baby if someone else took care of it. Extreme crysomeness. Repeating the events of the birth or of what people said to you over and over again. Fearing death for you and the baby. These are the extreme signs, but they can be real. They are real. If you or your partner, especially your partner, should listen to this episode, so he is able to pick up those signs when you and the family cannot. Indian families are not good at it. They have lived through emotional suppression, so they don't see it. It's hard for them to see it. If you see anything, partners, fathers, husbands, if you see anything which seems perceptible of postpartum depression, it can be milder from the above symptoms I shared, but still, whatever you see, reach out for help. So those were the symptoms. Now, what helped me? First of all, the recognition that I was depressed. And as I already said, it took me 1 week to recognize it, that I was depressed. And this is a milestone in itself. I used to talk to my sister, who is a doctor, and explain to her my situation, how I felt at home. And one day she suggested, it seems like you're depressed. You could be under postpartum depression. And going through a C-section, when you were so inclined towards a normal birth, is one of the most common reasons out there for postpartum depression. That recognition and a channel to express myself and be understood without any judgments, it prevented my situation from getting worse and worse to even worse. It helped me on my journey. And it in a way kick-started the journey into healing. There were definitely situations around me that could have made it further worse. And that was the lack of empathy and lack of recognition at home. There are definitely better ways to handle a person going through a rough phase like I did. I did not need scolding, not at all. I did not need lectures, not at all. I needed somebody to come and ask me as to why I was feeling the way I was. But honestly, we have to talk. We have to talk about a lot of things in terms of recognizing a person going through this phase. So fathers, husbands, prep yourself. Read up on postnatal depression. Know somebody you can reach out to when you need help. People believe that a mother should be on cloud 9 after birthing a baby, but reality is actually, it's not a fairy tale. Generally, mothers can feel depressed, tired, they can feel happy, confused, overwhelmed. They can feel all of it. They can feel a myriad of emotions after birth. All they need post-birth is calm, peace, quiet days around her. Not the chaos of the family visiting, big loud dinners, while she's still trying to figure out a latch, sleep, a baby, herself as a mother, a new role that she's just begun, full throttle without any training. Basically, your training happens with the baby, right? Because it's so different. Every mother is going to parent her child differently because it's a duo. It takes two to function. And postpartum is a sudden change. All the attention she had to herself before the baby was born is gone. And she feels weak, both emotionally and physically. She can be cry some. Yes, that is normal. But that needs addressal. So fathers, husbands, or family members, sisters, whoever you are, if you're listening to this, know the symptoms. Read about postpartum depression. Brothers out there, if you see your sister going through that route, know that it could be depression and you can recognize it. And once you do, reach out for help. Meanwhile, do not try to assess her situation with logic. All you need to do is shower love, give her a hug, give her an acceptance, humor, if it doesn't backfire, but love, quiet love, acknowledging love, give her that. With my healing, my sister helped me a lot. She gave me all of this, and plus my husband as well. Although I think he didn't understand much, but he was a support who did not ask questions. He stood there, hugged me, took each day at a time. My sister, she helped me find answers to my birth, showed me a way. I highly suggest seeing a therapist, for it may take months to come out of it. It took me 2 months to fairly feel myself. The worst days were for the first 15 days. The symptoms of birth trauma lasted longer. With my birth work, the more I found my answers, the more I found a way women could birth, the better I felt, the better I healed. So do reach out and follow a path of what may help you intuitively as well. I want to also add that my breastfeeding journey was another thing that helped me. The oxytocin helped me sail through the love hormone that is produced in your body when you're breastfeeding, when you're snuggling your little baby. It helped me sail through. It helped me bond with my daughter, Divi, much, much better. It helped me feel a sense of joy, magic, seeing her grow on my breast milk alone. It was a booster. It made me so spirited and so further drawn back to nature. I felt like a part of it, just as magical as other beings. Something which I felt I was robbed of in my birth experience. So now let's move on to the frequently asked questions. How common is postpartum depression? It is very common, as per my experience, and it can affect postpartum healing. For me, my stitches did not heal as I did not accept my surgery. How does it affect your child? Extreme rage can be detrimental to the baby. In my case, I had extreme rage and my daughter needed protection from me in times of panic attacks. I'm putting out really gross examples, but that was my reality. It's also important to talk about, at this point, paternal postpartum depression. Men can also have postpartum depression as they become fathers, where their own life experiences, their own emotional challenges might surface. We did a very crucial episode with Joshua Mays, who is the dad coordinator for Postpartum Support International. It's called Postpartum Anxiety in Men. It is season 3's episode number 8. I'll link this in the show notes. Must hear. It's a man's perspective of postpartum depression that he faced. So all in all, these were the symptoms. This was my experience. And this is how I think you can find out help. I hope this helped you. And now on to, and since this is a retake of the first episode, we used to do parenting tip of the week in season 1. So I'm reading the parenting tip of the week from the very first episode on the podcast and repeating it as it is from the time when Divi was very, very young, and I'm reliving it with you. So the parenting tip of the week is very important. It's an important section as well. So here I say that a few days back, I was talking to my daughter and she doesn't respond back. She doesn't speak. She only responds in her gestures. It was back then. So I had the music on. She started dancing. And that was one of the most relaxing moments I had with her. So what I did was, I closed the door, let the outsides be outsides, and closed the lights and started dancing with her. Trust me, I had tears in my eyes. It was such an overwhelming experience. So what's the tip? The tip is, no matter how old your baby is, fathers, working mums, housewives, businessmen, businesswomen, when you come back home today, dance with your children. Take out some time, put on some music, and enjoy yourself. And if this episode helped you, remember to drop us a rating or review on Apple or Spotify. This is the best appreciation for us and helps us reach more and more people like you. Also, the Natural Birth Approach webinar, which is free to attend, is happening on September 27th, 11 a.m. IST, India Standard Time. You can RSVP for the event by following the link in the show description. It's also linked there. We'll be back with another episode next week. Till then, please take care of yourself, your loved ones, women around you who've just given birth, and listen to what your heart guides you in this life. Be self-directed. Remember, you got the power. There is a field beyond fear where the body is empowered to take on labor and birth. To land there, it is crucial to take birth education. To enroll into our unique labor and birth preparation course, reach out to us at www.birthagni.com or scroll through all available prenatal and postnatal preparation classes. Thank you for listening, all in the spirit of birth, womanhood, and freedom. Remember, you got the power. This podcast is about physiological birth and does not offer or claim to provide medical knowledge or diagnosis. Starting a podcast with poor recording tools in the market? It was painful until I found Zencastr. Its high-quality audio and video recording along with the option of a backup makes it super sturdy and a savior at times. With an easy-to-use dashboard and super convenient tools for advertising campaigns such as reels and videos, Zencastr is my comfort choice. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use my code Birth Agni